That's show hosted by BetRivers. I'm Kai McEwen. That's Jim Root. We're the three-man weave. We're 2/3 of the three-man weave. Matthew Cox is on a plane right now, coming back from Hawaii. He had a great time in Maui. There is a picture of Matt in a grass skirt on our Twitter. He held up his end of the deal after we got 50 likes in the last video. It's a very good picture. Jim, it's more than I was hoping for. It made me very happy on my Thanksgiving Thursday.
Yeah, he didn't show his face, so we can't prove that it's him.
Sure.
There's a little bit of suspicion there, but I like the added effect of being in front of the Lahaina Civic Center, the sadness of not being able to see basketball on the island this week. But we're proud of Matt for delivering, and we'll try to carry the show without him today.
It was perfect. And Jim, do you have any takeaways from yesterday? I'll be honest, I didn't watch a whole lot of hoops. I was enjoying some turkey, caught a couple of the games. Looked to be some good ones. What'd you see?
Well, Kai, I was disappointed by my New Mexico boys collapsing. There was some poor reffing yesterday. I'm just going to say it.
Okay.
The San Diego game was basically the Toreros lost on a bad offensive interference call, which was probably not watched by many people. The one that was watched, though, was the UConn-Michigan State foul at the end, where it's the wrong call and the wrong ref making the call. It's the guy at half court calling something on a drive to the basket. And that's the disappointing part. If you get it wrong, at least be the correct ref making the call who should have an angle. If it's a guy that just can't see it, that's a bummer. All the same, though, UConn had a chance to win, threw it away on the possession right after that. That was on them when they were down by one. So it's not all about the refs, but man, you just like to see it a little sharper when these games are so heavily featured and we're trying to get viewers, Kai.
I know. Maybe he had something on it, Jim. You never know. Speaking of viewers, very weird. We just had the Baylor Michigan State championship game at 10 a.m. Eastern time. Very strange.
It's college football windows would be my guess.
Yeah. We have this first game we're going to talk about right now, Gonzaga-Duke in Las Vegas in Jim's neck of the woods. It's at 10:30 Eastern? Very late indeed, Jim. I guess you can stay up on a Friday night. There's no school tomorrow. Game of the year, Jim. I've said it 100 times already, but this might actually be it. Gonzaga-Duke, another massive spread in favor of the Zags. But I, once again, kind of buy it. Do you think it's way too high? Do you think Duke hangs around?
I mean, I think up to 9, that certainly feels high, right?
Yeah, it's gotten higher. It's weird.
That is big if it's 8.5, 9, wherever you're seeing it. But Gonzaga's given us no reason to believe that it shouldn't be that high, right? Like they've played 2 very good teams and wiped both of them out immediately. Like there's never any doubt that they're going to win by 15 plus against UCLA. Same thing against Texas. So what makes Duke different? That's what we're trying to figure out. Well, I would assume Duke enters with a better defensive game plan than Texas did, and possibly even better than UCLA's. Mm-hmm. You have the big bodies to throw at Drew Timme. You've got 10 fouls with true centers between Theo John and Mark Williams. You can just hurl bodies at him, hopefully not have to double as hard, which opens up the Strouder threes, the Chet Holmgren drives and threes. Very curious to see how Duke plays defensively. If they just go full single coverage, like Texas did, they actually have the bodies to work on him a little bit more. Mm. I don't know, Kai. I still think Gonzaga just is a different animal right now. Like I'm leaning towards Duke with my number, but I'm terrified of fading Gonzaga. I think that's a losing strategy long term, especially in big games where they are showing up and it's not like a -35 spread they have to cover.
Yeah, going back to last year, I think now we're up to around 35 games or so, regular season games, where Gonzaga hasn't played within single digits. I think West Virginia at the beginning of last year was the only team that got within double digits of Gonzaga. That's still the case going into this year. They have been blowing away good teams. The Chet versus Paolo matchup is what everyone's going to be talking about. All the NBA draft prognosticators. That's going to be a fun one to watch. Jim, Zag's guard's better than Duke's guards, in my opinion. But I have no side here either. It's hard to lay this many points against Duke, a team I think could be number 2 in the country, but I also don't want to go against Gonzaga. So kind of a stay away from me. Enjoy the game, Jim. You're covering the game.
I will. I'll be there, be in the house. I think your guard point is valid. There's very much a groundswell right now. Andrew Nembhard is the best point guard in college basketball. And I'm not saying he's not, but it also is easier when you have Drew Timme and Chet Holmgren to play alongside. If he had to be the best player on his team, would he be the best point guard in college basketball? I don't know. Yeah. He does a great job controlling the game, though. He runs the pick and roll perfectly with those guys. So he is a star in his role. And he's a top 25 player in college basketball. He's at least that.
He's been awesome. And this game will be awesome. Let's move on. Xavier versus Virginia Tech in Brooklyn. Spread right now around 3. That's pretty spot on for me, Jim. Virginia Tech favored by 3. And just as we were praising Xavier, they go and they lose outright to Iowa State. Obviously, allowing 10 for 20 from 3 while shooting 3 for 21 yourself isn't the best winning strategy. Jim, you had something on the Clones in that game. Did you think they'd win outright, though?
God, no, I did not. That was a close your eyes bet. I was like, this feels a little high, especially without Fremantle. And Iowa State was basically in control the entire time. It was mega impressive from them. Otzelberger's done a pretty solid job to start the year. Already more wins than they had last year. And last year they had 2 wins over SWAC teams. And now they've already beat a Big East team on a neutral court with a Big East team with tournament aspirations. So pretty impressive for them. But now this one, Kai, I lean a little bit towards Virginia Tech, but I'm hesitant. Those shooting splits you mentioned with Xavier, I think did tell a big part of the story. The fact that they couldn't hit shots, and Iowa State, who is shaky from the outside, especially Brockington and Kalsher, were hotter than they have been in recent games. So I'm leaning towards Virginia Tech. They were a little overwhelmed by the Memphis athleticism. I don't think Xavier can quite do that to them, but I do lean towards Mike Young on the coaching edge here. I think that's big for the Hokies. By
far the better coach team. And Virginia Tech, to their credit, they fought against Memphis. They got the lead in the second half. Despite the athleticism, they hung around there for a while. Jim, shooting regression, we love to talk about it. Virginia Tech, number 1 in the country in 3-point percentage defense. Yeah. Xavier, 303rd in offensive 3-point percentage. Maybe something gives there.
Opponents are making 18% against Virginia Tech. Not sustainable at all.
That's like Arkansas last season for the first, 20 games or so. That seemed to stick around for quite a while. I'm leaning Virginia Tech here. I think they're just kind of better at everything that Xavier does. And the coaching difference is huge, in my opinion. Young versus Steele. All right, next game. In Niceville, Florida, Oregon State versus Wake Forest. Jim, the market hates the Beavers more than we do, at least more than I do, because I think 4.5 points is nuts. Maurice Kalu is playing today. He took last game off due to knee tendonitis. He's back. He's one of their best players. To Wake's credit, they've certainly looked good, but they've played the Sisters of the Poor. They haven't played a top 250 team all season.
Now they're playing stat written down, you rascal.
Yeah. I got you. But now Oregon State is anything but a soft team, right? At the very least, they're tough. They're gritty. I expect them to scrap around and win this game.
Wow.
Yes,
okay.
Maddie Moneylines isn't here.
Yeah, that's true. I'm not on board with that. I think Wake Forest is emerging to be a lot better than they were last year. I think they are a notch or two, not 2 notches ahead of Oregon State, but at least Wake Forest is taking care of business. Oregon State lost at home to Princeton, lost at home to Samford. They've just been bad. And it's, a question of how bad are they really going to be with no Thompson brother leading the backcourt. I'm not sure their shot creation is great. Wayne Tinkle still has some tricky zones, and I'm sure he'll bring those to the table here because Wake Forest isn't exactly flush with outside shooting. So you got to make them knock down shots from the perimeter. I don't know. I just lean towards Forbes and Wake right now. I think they're kind of more on the ascendancy, whereas the Beavers are sinking a little bit. But my number certainly has not allowed me to bet it, Kai. You're right. I would have to make this much higher than 3.5 or 4, and I can't do that.
Yeah, it's funny. I think this game pretty much opened for KenPom's got it 1. You don't often see that big of a difference with these low spreads. Certainly the market trending towards Wake on this one. But I like the Beavers. I'm going to punch back at the Beavers.
Okay.
All right. Next game, Wichita State at Missouri, aka Mizzou. I will be in the house for this game tonight. I'm very excited. As a biased Mizzou fan,
live basketball for the Weave tonight.
Oh yeah, two games, Jim. We're covering everywhere. We're omnipresent. As a biased Mizzou fan, I'm saying we have no chance. As a sports bettor, I'm saying we have this much of a chance. It's going to be an ugly, ugly game. What do you think?
Well, I just saw Wichita in person, so we're both going to have a little eye test of them. So I'm out here in Vegas. They're really not a lot of size, but they fly around defensively. There's no quitting them. I think they're going to be mega feisty as an underdog this year. As a road favorite, they're not really built to blow people out. They don't get a lot of easy buckets inside. It's a lot of forced turnovers and knockdown threes. And they have some elite shot makers, Tyson Etienne in particular. And I think Mizzou will make them do that, but they're capable. And yeah, it mostly comes down to, I think Mizzou's bad. Like, I think it's just a bad basketball team. It's an assemblage of mid-major transfers and not a lot of real size. And the offensive scheming has been bad ever since Kwanzaa Martin arrived. So
Yes.
I don't really know how they score here against Wichita, who's going to really make them work.
Yeah.
I certainly lean your way towards the Shockers.
That goes both ways. It's going to be an ugly game. 132.5 is the total. I think it's a little high. I don't see it getting to that point. I would be surprised if Mizzou scored more than 60, 65 points. I can tell you right now, there's not going to be any home court here. It's Black Friday. Mizzou football is away at Arkansas. They haven't had any fans so far at their previous games. You could say this is the biggest game of the year in Columbia so far, but still, I think it's going to be a pretty light crowd. Wichita State's going to force a ton of turnovers, Jim. And that leads me to this point that Wichita State is my best bet. At -2.5 now, just moved down from 3 at BetRivers. Thank you, BetRivers. -2.5. It's a win-win for me, Jim. If Mizzou wins, all right, I saw my alma mater win. If Wichita State covers 2.5, all right, I look good on the show. So that's my best bet, Wichita State -2.5.
Love it. Book it early.
Yeah, that's right. Jim, chat mob, questions. I don't have the chat up, so I apologize. I'm not interacting with you all today.
I will do my best, Kai. It's with only 2 here. We're really trying to make up for.
Yeah.
I gotta respond to you. I gotta be out with a chat. But first, from HODL Savage, he's wondering if Portland State can hang with Iowa, or does Iowa blow them out? I think Iowa is built to murder bad teams, and I think Portland State's pretty bad. They've got some solid talent via mid-major or power conference down transfers, but Kai, I think the opening press conference for Mr. Jace Coburn at Portland State might have hidden the fact that he might not be a great basketball coach.
Yeah,
they're the only team that's lost to Oregon State this year so far, and they got blown out by Portland at home.
Yeah, I just don't think he has great players at Portland State. I'm still a Coburn believer, so I'm going to give him some semi-slack. I don't know.
Do you look at the transfers on the roster, though? And
It should be better.
I could talk myself into these guys, but yeah, they're playing like the same kind of pressing style, and they're sloppy.
Yeah, I have no interest in going against Iowa. It seems like Iowa's home spreads against these worst teams have been inflated quite a bit, as if the market knows that they kill bad teams. And that's probably the case tonight. So I'm staying away. If you want to take something in this game, I'd probably recommend Iowa.
Yeah, that's where I would land too. I just think they are built to murder bad teams, and they do it pretty consistently. All right, Michael Rizzo asking about one of the games in Atlantis, which we don't have any of the Atlantis ones on our outline because of the timing of determining the matchups. First one, though, Kai, we're going to talk about UConn and VCU. Michael threw out the stat that Hurley is 0-5 ATS on no rest. I do not have the ability to verify that, but if that is correct,
good stat.
Certainly an eyebrow raiser here. We don't know if Isaiah Whaley is playing. He sat out yesterday after fainting on Wednesday. Yep. Pretty huge, reigning defensive player of the year in the Big East.
Yep.
Why is this not ugly as heck, Kai? VCU games as they want to be.
I think it will be. And you saw VCU, Syracuse is a bad matchup for them, and they just made it ugly and they won. They're competing despite all the injuries they had in the offseason. Terrible luck for VCU. If they had Ace Baldwin, and I forgot who the other guy got hurt, Jim.
Jameer Watkins.
One other guy.
Third one.
Yeah. If they were fully healthy,
that's his name.
McAllister, this team could be top 25 good. That's how good of a defense they're playing this year. 8 points is huge. That's a huge spread, especially with the low possessions I think this game's going to play to. I'm leaning towards VCU.
Yep, I did too. They've been a feisty dog so far. I kind of think they will be again. UConn couldn't buy a 3 yesterday. So if you're worried about 3-point shooting regression, that is a concern. But VCU is really swarming and long on the perimeter. So they make those shots difficult. It's not any sort of fluke that their defensive 3-point percentage is pretty low.
Mm-hmm.
All right, next, Matt Catanacci asking a mid-major battle here. I believe you have had a best bet on one of these teams, Kai.
Oh, have I?
Morehead State and Arkansas State. I believe you had one on Arky State. They pulled it out for you. Do you think they can do it again here against last year's OVC NCAA tournament entrant?
Yeah, Morehead hasn't looked great so far this season, but they're playing really good teams. You know, their spreads have mostly been in like the 14-15 range as dogs. Not this game. They're expected to maybe compete for a win in this one. Arkansas State's a team that I was pretty high on coming into the year because of O'Meara coming back, their center who could win player of the year in the Sun Belt, and also because of their guards. Desi Sills coming in from Arkansas. They have a ton of talent. I'm not totally sold on them being a favorite right now against Morehead State. I'm staying away. I usually like these close spreads around 0, but I don't have a huge opinion in this one, Jim, unfortunately.
Yeah, Morehead's dealing with some injuries. I think Jalen Hall hasn't really played this year, a Wright State transfer, and then Tyjon Claude, who's coming back from a torn ACL,
Yeah,
supposed to
it's
be
big.
like the Twin Towers with Janai Broom. He hasn't really played. Seems like he's not fully healthy. So not sure what we're getting with Morehead State. Maybe a slightest of leans to Arkansas State, but that team hasn't really delivered on its potential in past years. So
No,
we'll see what they're able to do. Could also a big foul trouble risk for your boy Omir going up
yep,
against Broom inside.
absolutely. Yeah.
All right, one more from Space Ace, and then we will head back to the outline. A rematch from the 2019 Maui final that was an all-timer, overtime classic. Kansas and Dayton. The Flyers shockingly knocked off Miami, Florida yesterday after losing 3 straight bye games at home. It was pretty stunning to see them take care of business in the way they did. Won by 16, never really in doubt. Meanwhile, Kansas is awesome. They were up 15-20 most of the time on North Texas, who did sneak in the back door yesterday for you mean green backers. Kai, is this one just a big time blowout?
I think so, but the Dayton yesterday was a team that we more so expected to see this season than the one that lost 3 outright bye games. They're probably really in between somewhere. So I'm still like, my rating's very much in flux with them. I don't really trust them against Kansas, who I think is a well-oiled machine. They could be, they are number 2 in the country for my money right now, Kansas.
Yes.
So I don't trust Dayton. 16 points, a little bit high to lay. But so I'm probably staying away, but I wouldn't really be enthused to bet Dayton.
Yeah, I was not enthused to bet Dayton yesterday, and thankfully it worked out. But man, 16, I wouldn't want to lay that either with Kansas. I make it a little lower. But I don't. Yeah, I have no appetite to bet Dayton against a team that is possibly a juggernaut. They got a great Remy Martin game yesterday, and if that continues, then really ups their offensive firepower. A little bit worried about Dayton's guards too. They had some aberrationally good shooting, especially in the second half yesterday. Elijah Weaver was cooking. All right, Kai, we can go back to the outline. I will table the rest. I see the Purdue question, and then we've got questions about Auburn. And the next game we have on our outline, Kai, has also been asked about.
Good, perfect. That is LSU and Penn State. We are back in Niceville, Florida. Jim, LSU's murdered everyone they have faced. Their defense is 27th in the country. And if that's truly who they are, I say watch out for LSU, because that's always been their weakness under Will Wade. This year, if they have a top 30 defense, they could be top 20 good. Who do you lean in this game between LSU and Penn State?
I am kind of done with getting in the way of LSU right now. Yep. And I think I fully buy their defense. They are, I believe, first in the country in block rate and second in steal rate. They're just unbelievably disruptive. They've got a ton of length this year. Tari Eason was a nice add as a defensive piece. Efton Reed's blocking shots. Alex Fudge, fantastically named Alex
Great
Fudge. He and Milwaukee Wilkinson on the wing have just been terrors. Pinson gets steals. Eric Gaines is like a ball pressure maven. So I kind of buy the defense. The athleticism is there. It's not a roster of a bunch of one-on-one scorers like it was with Watford and Cam Thomas and Javonte Smart. So I buy that this roster is really strong defensively. And they're playing Penn State, who is basically as slow as you can play offensively right now. They're crawling the ball at the floor, running a pick and roll with Sam Sessoms, not a ton of creativity in terms of their scheme offensively. I would lean towards the under on the total, because I think Penn State doesn't score. I don't know. Do you think LSU's offense can score enough to blow them out? That's really the question, I guess.
I do think that, and this is finally defense we've been wanting to see from LSU. They've always had the athletes. They've always had the length. Now they're finally putting together. Yeah, Penn State's been in wars with mid-majors. They got down by 10, to Cornell. They got killed by UMass. And Shrewsbury, Jim, I thought in the offseason said he wanted to run. Every coach certainly says that, but he's doing the opposite. He's playing very slowly, like you said. I think LSU forces turnovers. I think they're a much better team. The spread did feel a smidge high. I thought it touched 9 for a while. It's down to 8. I'm not excited to back the dog, so no thank you. I'll probably stay away. LSU could definitely blow them out.
Yeah, I have a feeling that my rating is still too low on LSU. After the Adam Miller torn ACL, I was like, that's going to crush them offensively.
Thought so too.
But if their defense is top 30, top 25, like it's been so far, then they're going to be awesome and a top 30 team themselves. So yeah, I might still be a bit low. So I'm staying away here.
All right, let's go to the next one then. Iowa State versus Memphis back in Brooklyn. It seems that Iowa State has a better coach now, Jim. I don't know. We talked about how they've already won 5 games. They won 2 last year under Prohm. They're up to 95 right now in KenPom after starting 113. But now they're playing Memphis, and Memphis has been rolling. I fear for the Clones' ability to score, Jim. Memphis is the number one defense in the country. Can Iowa State keep it within 11.5 is what it currently is at BetRivers.
Man, this is another one where it's kind of hold your nose if you're going to take the dog.
Yeah.
Memphis is overwhelming athleticism, took care of Virginia Tech. Iowa State, I think, has been better than I thought. And Otzelberger's gotten those kind of strange pieces to fit together a little better than I expected. But man, this is such a bear of a test. A team with a freshman point guard and Tyrese Hunter going against like the longest, most athletic team in the country, arguably. Yeah. Can Iowa State take advantage of Memphis's propensity to turn the ball over and be sloppy? That's the big question for the dog. Mm-hmm. If they can not get outshot like crazy, like if Memphis takes 15 more shots because of turnovers and 0 rebounds, then Iowa State's completely screwed. But if they can force a few turnovers to Clones, then perhaps they can hang around. I feel like you do, Kai, about Penn State, where my number sort of leans towards the dog, but I am not going to emphatically recommend it to anyone.
Yeah, up-tempo game. I think there are going to be a lot of turnovers on both sides, Jim. Lots of possessions here. There's just such a clear advantage inside on the glass for Memphis size. They're going to live at the line too. I think Iowa State has a pretty high foul rate, if my memory serves. So I think it's going to be kind of a revolving door, a turnstile, Jim, to the line for Memphis. So it feels like a big mismatch. I'm leaning towards Memphis, despite 11.5 seeming pretty high. All right, next one. Chicago is where we're headed. Northern Kentucky is going to DePaul. Jim, DePaul hasn't been that bad. Have you noticed what David Jones is doing? Who is this guy? David Jones, averaging 18 and 9, almost 2 steals per game, and over a block per game. I did not know who he was coming into the year, Jim.
He was a late enrollee last year, got a couple of minutes, and it was like, all right, yeah, solid. He can be a decent contributor for them. Yeah, he's been unbelievable. They've been playing really up-tempo. Transition offense has been basically what has carried them, aside from a barrage of threes down the stretch against Rutgers. It's been pretty impressive so far. Like you said, I don't think they've faced a defense like this, though. Kind of a trappy zone, half court, real different kind of thing. NKU will throw at you. And without their 2 point guards, Jalen Terry and Hamad Bynum, I'm concerned. Those guys are still out, have not been declared eligible. I think it's going to be till the semester break. I'm curious because I don't buy their offense. I don't. Yeah, it's been great so far, but they haven't played a lot of good defenses other than the Rutgers one, and they were hot from perimeter. And I think it's going to maybe be a bit of a house of cards. Same time, though, I don't trust Northern Kentucky, so I can't totally recommend.
Northern Kentucky's doing its best SMU impression in terms of just blowing games. I think they've gotten up a few times in the first half and just let it slide away. Yep. I don't know if DePaul should be favored by anybody or against anybody by 5.5 or 6. So that seems a little bit high. The rebounding disparity here is what caught my eye looking at the 4 factors. 14th in offensive rebounding percentage for DePaul. Northern Kentucky, 342nd in defensive rebounding percentage. Yep. That seems bad. So maybe David Jones dominates Jim and DePaul gets the cover. I just think it's a little bit too many points to lay for me to feel comfortable taking it.
Yep. Stay away as I try to figure out what DePaul is right now.
Yeah. All right. Last one on the rundown. Oklahoma State at Oral Roberts. That's right. At Oral Roberts.
A true road game, Kyle?
True road game. Stillwater to Tulsa. I think it's like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. These two have played each other each of the past 2 seasons, Jim. They're both 5-point games. They're both at Stillwater. Oral Roberts, man, have been kind of bad. They have 3 wins. They're all non-D1. They lost to Central Arkansas outright. Got killed by Colorado State. But can they keep this one close?
Man, I hope so. I made this a little lower than what it is, although it has come down a hair.
Yep.
We've seen some of these, mid-major teams hosting Big Brother, keep it close. Like South Alabama nearly beat Auburn 2 years ago, I think. Charleston hung around with North Carolina forever so far this year, or early this year before North Carolina kind of extended late. I don't know. I think Oral Roberts can keep it close here if they knock down shots. A. Smith had a nightmare game.
Yeah, like 0 for 12, Arkansas. I think.
Over 12 at halftime. I think he finished like 3 for 18 or something.
Yikes.
So you need a big bounce back. I mean, it's obviously a huge hype home spot for the little brother in the state. It's going to be high variance because the amount of threes they're going to take, which we saw work out really well for them in the NCAA tournament last year. There's no more O'Banner, but they still have plenty of shooting. I think Oral Roberts can hang here, Kai. Oklahoma State hasn't zoned that much this year, only 7%. I thought we would see more matchup zone from them this year. So perhaps that gives them a better chance to guard the ball screens because they're used to it, all the pick and pop that Oral Roberts does. But man, I lean towards the dog, and I know someone else who does too, Kai. That's just a teaser.
He does. We'll continue to tease that. I think Oral Roberts can handle the pressure. Oklahoma State, they're number 2 in the country right now in turnover rate. They're forcing turnovers. They're getting in your jock. Or Roberts, number 2 right now in offensive turnover rate. Asmus does not turn the ball over. He's obviously played on the big stage before. He's not going to be phased as much by the pressure, but they're going to have to hang around with shooting. That's pretty much the name of the game. And you can say that about every single game, Jim, but if they shoot good, they'll probably hang around inside the number. That's really their only chance against Oklahoma State, who physically just outmatches them in every aspect.
Yeah, it's tough. You want like more intricate analysis on that, but when it's a team that's takes a ton of threes playing a bigger, more athletic team, the threes have to go in. And if you're able to predict whether they are or not, then you're going to be rich in weeks because that model is the holy grail.
Yeah. Should we give it away, Jim? Should we tell him?
Yeah, give it to him. Give him the GOAT.
Matt from 30,000 feet says Oral Roberts is his best bet at plus 9.5. He is backing, the Eagles, Golden Eagles.
Yep.
From the sky. So that's his best bet. He also said, Jim, to sprinkle the money line.
Matty Cox says sprinkle the money line on Oral Roberts. He thinks the fact that there is so many threes and the high variance nature of this game gives them a chance to pull it off.
Love it.
So there you have it, folks. The Matty money line's bet is coming in even when he's not present. He delivers for the folks. Yep.
Such a great guy. All right, Jim. Chat mob questions to finish us off before reminding folks of our best bets and revealing yours.
Chat mob. Hey, we're answering your questions. Just hit the like button. Real simple for us. We appreciate that. We got Matt in a grass skirt. We'll have to continually think of new challenges for high like totals. Yep. Yeah. Matt embarrassing himself is perfect. So hit the like button, subscribe to that channel. We'll continue to answer your questions. We appreciate them flowing in. Kai, I missed the name, but someone asked if Purdue minus 36.5 is the bet of the year, taking on shorthanded Omaha. Man, it feels very high. And it kind of comes down to like unpredictability over the final 5-10 minutes of what I think will be a massive blowout. Just the size of the number, I'm probably staying away.
I wanted to take it. I really, really did. But I was like, 36.5, like odds makers are basically like, oh, really? You want to take it? Well, you're going to have to lay the most crazy price ever. I lean Purdue still at that number. It's just, I can't actually lay down money on it.
Yeah. It's huge. You basically have to win by 40 and they're going to dominate the paint as they always do.
Absolutely.
I would assume Stefanovic will be hot because it's a home game and he is always incredible at Mackey Arena. But man, Omaha has been a little bit feisty. They scored the final 10 points against Kansas State to come in the back door there.
Yeah.
They had that big second half run against Ball State that broke your heart, Kai. So weirdly, despite being shorthanded, they've been okay, especially late in games. So I would probably stay away from that one.
Yeah.
All right, next one. Multiple people asking about this one. Kai, my Tide, Nate Oates and
your
the Tide got knocked off yesterday. Iona took away the 3-point line, slowed it to a half-court game, and Alabama could not figure out how to score efficiently. Now they take on Drake, also somewhat of a surprising loser in the first round of the ESPN Events Invitational. Do you think Alabama bounces back and blows out the Bulldogs? I
kind of lean that way. And it's only 6.5. That's pretty low. I think Alabama gets back on the horse here. Now, Drake's a scary team to fade in general, especially as a dog. So I don't feel super confident about it, but I would lean towards the Tide. Yeah, this is a tough thing to prepare for in short rest. Iona came in with such a great plan on how to take away the 3-point line and grind the game. And with no prep really for Drake, I think it's going to be harder to execute that type of game plan. So sort of side towards the individual talent here, which would be Alabama. All right, next on there, Kai, we mentioned Portland earlier having whooped Portland State. We did. They are now headed to another Big Sky foe. They're playing at Montana State. Mm-hmm. Do we think Shante Leggins and the boys have another outright upset in them? They could. If you think Portland is still undervalued in the market, they're pretty low right now. Excuse me. There's someone's printing next to me. If you can hear that. Portland is +6, Jim. It seems to me that KenPom hasn't moved Portland quite as high as most people think. The sharper bettors out there. But Montana State kind of scares me. They can put up points. I just showed earlier in the year against, I can't remember who they played. They scored
Colorado.
Colorado.
They almost won at Colorado.
Yeah. Scored like 100 points. Granted, it was an overtime or double overtime. Jabril Bello is the key for Montana State inside. I'm not sure if Portland has an answer for him.
Yeah, he's a man. He can just kind of like bully you on the block. That's not really Portland's MO. With Leggins, they're more of a spread you out type of team. I was interested when this touched 7. I just thought that was a hair too high, but at 6 now at BetRivers, I probably wouldn't recommend it. It's just come down a bit too much. All right, Kai, another one we just talked about Iona. Luke Putnam asking about the winner there. Iona taking on Belmont. Semifinal matchup here. Mid-majors reigning supreme in this field.
Yeah, good for them.
Which one do you think gets it done? I mean, if Iona wins, then they're looking at a legitimate large case.
I'm leaning towards Iona plus 3.5. I'd probably lean towards Belmont. Basically, I think these teams are kind of a toss-up. So whichever one's the dog, I'm probably leaning towards, because I think it is literally a coin flip. I'll take the points in that case. So I'm leaning towards Patino, Jim, Iona. We've seen Belmont kind of struggle a couple times, and Iona, to their credit, I guess they've struggled a little bit too, but they've found a way to win. And I think that it happens again tonight. I think they do get it done against Belmont. Yeah,
I sort of lean the same way. I think the coin flip point is basically where I'm at. Like, I would rather have the points in this one. I think it's, Iona is clearly able to drain the possessions out of games and force you to play in the half court, which hurts Belmont. Muzinski was awesome yesterday against Drake, basically dominated.
He was.
And he could potentially do the same today, but Junior Joseph is a key inside for Iona as well. He needs to avoid foul trouble as he got in yesterday. So curious to see how that one works out. But yeah, no real strong take, although it would lean towards having the points on my side and what I think will be a close one.
Yep.
All right, Kyle CM asking about a game that will be showing up in best bets. So just so you know, UAB San Francisco will show up shortly. Get to that in a second. Teaser indeed. Graham Haynes wants to know about St. Joe's and Georgetown. Kai, do we ever trust Georgetown as a favorite, given a bunch of points?
No, Jim, and usually I don't trust St. Joe's as a dog either. But hey, they somehow cover against USC. I was surprised about that. Thank you so much, Redhawks. Jim, I'm leaning towards St. Joe's because Georgetown as a favorite makes me giggle. And 7.5, I could see St. Joe's sticking around. Georgetown's just not that good this year.
Yep, I would tend to agree. We saw them not really they lost at home to Dartmouth as a favorite. So hard to trust them. They made a nice second run yesterday when San Diego State got up 14. They cut it back to 4, but then I believe they had like 3 points in their final 15 possessions or something. Yep. San Diego State just suffocated them. St. Joe's, I don't know. Yeah, I don't trust either of these teams in their particular situation. So hard to recommend strongly a side on either one. All right, Kai, Jay Rush, New Mexico and Towson wants to know about these two. New Mexico tied with 4 minutes left, couldn't cover plus 12. That was brutal yesterday.
It was.
They had a guy, Muscadin, miss a dunk attempt with 30 seconds left. Yeah. Then his teammate recovered it and threw him the ball, and he just let it hit him in the chest. He quit playing completely. Yeah. I think he thought the play was dead after he missed the dunk. But man, it was a brutal end game. UAB was able to pull out the cover. Do you think New Mexico can bounce back today?
I do, Jim. I do. I'm leaning towards New Mexico. However, to Towson's credit, they've been better than I thought. They've certainly outperformed my expectations of Towson. I feel like I've been against them most games. I still think New Mexico's a better team here. I think what you should be focusing on is what you said before the terrible defeat. They were tied with UAB with 4 minutes to go. That's very impressive. UAB is a very good team. I think New Mexico is a decent Mountain West team this season, unlike last year. So I lean towards New Mexico. Yeah,
I believe yesterday's New Mexico collapse was their first ATS loss of the season. They've been really strong. Mm-hmm. Jalen House played and looked healthy. The ankle looked good to go. Good. Saquon Singleton returned from his heart issue. The more they can get from them, that's big. And on the other hand, Towson was still missing Gibson, Juwan Gray, and Antonio Rizzuto. So they're a little bit thin. I mean, none of those guys are stars, but depth matters in a back-to-back turnaround game here. So would lean towards New Mexico for sure.
I think they've covered 2 in a row without Rizzuto and Gibson, which is against the grain, I suppose.
Basically, yeah. They have to win outright to do it this time. We'll see if they're able to do that. All right. I think that is it from the chat.
All right.
Hey, chat, make sure you hit the like button because we've got this beautiful rundown. I believe it's on my right side.
Check it out.
Right side. Yeah, it's over there.
Looks good.
We've been able to get that implemented into the show. We know how awesome that is to have those on the menu, and so people know what's being discussed and what's about to be discussed. So thank you to our producer behind the scenes, Dagan, for doing that.
Appreciate you.
Let's get to best bets, Kai.
Best bets. Reminder, mine was Wichita State -2.5 against my and Jim's Missouri Tigers. Just think they get it done. Go Shockers. Go Tigers too. I'm conflicted. It's a win-win.
Oh, he's going to be torn on press row, folks. This poor guy.
Matt Cox from the Sky. He's taking Oral Roberts +9.5. And Jim, who you got?
Well, I'm going to make sure I have the updated spread. Yep. Okay. I am taking in the UAB San Francisco game. I'm going with the Dons, Kai.
Hey.
San Francisco -2 in Las Vegas here. This game will be going on during Duke-Gonzaga, so kind of the undercard for the WCC. Yep. But I trust the guards on San Francisco to handle the ball against the pressure. Shabazz, Bouye, Stefanini, a ton of experience, a ton of smarts in that backcourt. And then the physicality up front of Jamison really gave New Mexico problems. He had a ton of offensive rebounds, block shots. San Francisco has size this year. They've got Tape, they've got Misalski. Markovetsky played pretty solid off the bench yesterday. I think San Francisco can hang around and win. And as we mentioned with New Mexico, UAB was only tied with New Mexico yesterday with 4 minutes left. That final score was misleading. I think San Francisco is the better team. So give me the Dons -2, my best bet.
Jim, I love it. And I'm rooting for the Dons getting that large bid. This will go a long way. Go Dons.
Yep.
That's it for our show, guys. Again, please subscribe to the channel, Field of 68 Best Bets. Also like the video. We're going to get Matt and more stuff besides grass skirts. We're going to make him our little mascot all season long. Jim, we can talk about him when he's gone. It's great.
It's great. Yeah, he's no rebuttal. Oh, I'm sorry. Somebody, I did miss Bryant Brown. It was mentioned earlier.
Yes.
I sort of think it's closer to a coin flip than the spread indicates. So I would lean towards Brown, but they haven't been great this year, Kai.
Yeah, Brown's been good. Bryant's been not too good. I think Bryant turns around eventually here, maybe starting tonight.
Let's hope
today. Excuse me.
Yep.
Anyways, that's it. Hey, we're back on Sunday. We're not back on Saturday. We're back on Sunday at 10:15 a.m. Central. We will see you then. Enjoy your Friday. Enjoy your Saturday. Enjoy some